Early on February 21st, 2025, the Dubai-based crypto exchange Bybit was executing a routine transfer, moving funds from a cold wallet to a more accessible hot wallet. But routine was a lie. What followed was a digital raid, one of the largest in history. Roughly $1.5 billion in Ethereum and other assets were siphoned off. Security experts traced the breach to a compromised third-party multi-signature service, a supply chain flaw that allowed the attackers to redirect funds invisibly. The victims? A major exchange. The opportunists? A regime-backed hacking team. The result? A heist so audacious it resembled a blockbuster. Except it was real. For decades, North Korea made headlines the old-fashioned way. Nuclear tests, military parades, diplomatic standoffs, tanks rolled, missiles launched, sanctions followed. But beneath that noise, something quieter was taking shape. While the world tracked warheads, the regime was building something else. Hackers, an army of coders trained not to destroy cities, but to infiltrate systems. Their weapon, malware, their battlefield, the internet. No uniforms, no borders, no fingerprints. It started with chaos, ransomware, phishing, banking breaches. But over time, their operations evolved, cleaner, smarter, invisible. A report by the United Nations would later call it a shadow economy built on code. And crypto? That was the breakthrough. Traditional finance was locked down, the global banking system barred, trade routes closed, dollars were inaccessible. But crypto doesn't ask for permission. Borderless, pseudonymous, programmable. A digital loophole in a sanctions regime built for a different century. Currency without accountability. Wealth without visibility. Crypto became more than money. It became a weapon. A way to fund missiles without moving a single shipment. And it was only a matter of time before they found the right target. It wasn't brute force, it was trust, turned inside out. The heist didn't begin at Bybit, it began upstream, with the very tools designed to keep crypto secure. To conduct large transactions, Bybit relied on a multi-signature system, or multi-sig. No single employee could move funds alone. Each transaction needed multiple approvals. For that, they used Safe Wallet, a third-party platform trusted across the crypto industry. But earlier that month, Safe Wallet was breached, not by brute force, but by deception. A developer fell for a social engineering scam. His computer was infected. His AWS session tokens hijacked. These tokens granted access to Safe Wallet's backend, even bypassing multi-factor authentication. The attackers timed their access to match the developer's normal work hours. They blended in, like ghosts inside the network. And then, they rewrote the interface. They replaced safe JavaScript with malicious code. Not to steal from everyone, just Bybit. It was precise, tailored, invisible to the human eye. February 21st, Bybit employees initiate a standard cold-to-hot wallet transfer. The UI shows the correct destination address. They approve it, sign it, the signatures match. Everything checks out. But the actual transaction was altered at the moment of execution. The Ethereum didn't go where it was supposed to. It went into wallets controlled by North Korean operatives. $1.5 billion redirected. By the time Bybit noticed, it was already gone. This wasn't a brute force hack. It was a man-in-the-middle exploit, deployed with surgical focus, a digital sleight of hand that bypassed controls, signatures, and trust. And it worked. But stealing was only half the mission. Now they had to vanish. 1.5 billion in crypto is easy to trace. Unless you don't move it like money, you move it like a virus. The attackers fragmented the assets across more than 20,000 wallets. Some moved tokens across chains, Ethereum to BNB to Bitcoin back again. Others passed through mixers like Tornado Cash, obfuscating transaction trails. They used bridges, swaps, wrapped tokens, turning a straight line into digital static. One wallet received 8 Ethereum, another 0.2, a third only dust. Each acted like a stepping stone, a bouncing trail across time zones and protocols. In less than 24 hours, the $1.5 billion was no longer sitting in any one place. It was a ghost, multiplied. A digital war chest scattered like ash across the blockchain. And every move, every transaction, was crafted not by chance, but by design. For hours, the blockchain was chaos. Funds moved, wallets split, tokens flipped. It was noise, dense, erratic, impossible to trace. But then, patterns emerged. For those who had seen it before, the trail was familiar. The same wallet-splitting technique, the same bridge-hopping sequence, the same use of mixers, always in staggered batches. It wasn't just a method, it was a signature. The FBI, the NSA, even blockchain analytics firms like Chainalysis and TRM Labs had seen it before. The address structure, the laundering tempo, the timing of movements, all pointed to a single entity. Lazarus Group, a North Korean hacking unit operating under Bureau 121, linked to past mega hacks, the Sony breach, the WannaCry worm, the $600 million Ronin Bridge exploit, and now, this. US intelligence had long known Lazarus didn't just hack for disruption. They hacked for money, to fund weapons, to bypass sanctions, to keep the regime afloat. This wasn't a cybercrime group, it was a state-backed economic weapon. Forensic analysis confirmed it. The servers used in the Safe Wallet breach were traced back to infrastructure used in past Lazarus ops. The attack wasn't random, it was orchestrated, and the message was now clear. North Korea had just pulled off the biggest crypto theft in history, and no one could stop it. When the dust settled, analysts from TRM Labs, Chainalysis, and blockchain security firms were already deep inside the aftermath. On-chain activity had spiked. Tens of thousands of wallets activated. Transfers, splits, token swaps. It was a full-spectrum laundering event. But this wasn't a smash and grab. It was systemic, intentional, and worst of all, invisible to the platforms it passed through. At TRM Labs, investigators began building the graph. 22,000 wallets, dozens of cross-chain bridges, hundreds of token pairs. They saw microtransactions repeating in rhythmic waves, just like in the Ronin hack. Wallet clusters appeared and vanished in sync. It was a laundering pattern they'd seen before. Safe Wallet, the compromised platform, launched a full audit. They traced the breach to a code injection, slipped in during a session tied to a hijacked AWS credential. The exploit had sat live for days, maybe weeks, and it had one purpose: target Bybit, and only Bybit. But while investigators mapped the breach, the market responded in real time, and it wasn't subtle. Ethereum dropped 8% within 24 hours. Panic spread. Telegram groups lit up with questions. Was Safe Wallet compromised globally? Could other multi-sig platforms be next? Traders pulled funds, developers revoked access, projects suspended smart contract interactions. Protocol teams rushed to patch anything even remotely vulnerable. Safe Wallet issued a UI integrity update, but the trust was already fractured. Behind the scenes, exchanges scrambled to contain the blast radius. Wallets flagged, bridges blacklisted, surveillance intensified. But Lazarus had already moved tens of millions into tokens that couldn't be frozen. Monero, privacy coins, decentralized swaps. The damage couldn't be reversed, only documented. This wasn't just a breach, it was a breakdown. In trust, in architecture, in assumptions. A third-party tool, trusted across an industry, had become an attack vector, not through code, but through people. And what it exposed was a new kind of threat. In the wake of the Bybit heist, the message was clear. The next great conflict wouldn't start with a missile. It would start with a login. Governments once debated whether cyber warfare could rival kinetic attacks. But now, a single phishing email had generated more damage than a missile strike. No troops, no bombs, just JavaScript and $1.5 billion. In Washington, crypto tracking is no longer an edge case concern. It's national security. The US Treasury has already sanctioned hundreds of wallets tied to Lazarus. But even sanctions have limits when assets move faster than legislation. For the crypto industry, it's a reckoning. Protocols once proud of being trustless now face a new question. Who's watching the watchers? Who secures the tools that move billions? In Pyongyang, Lazarus continues its mission, not just hacking wallets, but hacking the very assumptions of global finance. And for now, they're winning. The next war won't be televised. It'll be rendered in code, and unless the world adapts fast, it won't be a fair fight. Your money lives on the same blockchain, so ask yourself, are you really safe?